Good morning, guys. We have our first car. This is a Honda Odyssey. This is gonna be just a regular radio, the new DHS 1000 UV. For these, we're gonna use the Metra Dash Kit 997808 with the harness BEH 1721. So this is gonna be a quick one. I forgot to mention in this car, the radio doesn't work. The first thing we're gonna do is check the fuses, if any fuse is blown or something, and then go from there. Let's get to it. Alright, so it's no blown fuses. We're gonna go and take the radio out. Perfect. So the funny thing in this car is they have fuses on the driver's side kick panel, fuses under the hood, and fuses in the passenger kick panel. I went and find it in the passenger kick panel. All right, so now let's go to the bench and wire it up.
Well, Fernando did a bang up job on this one. Awesome. All right, guys, on to the next one. Now, what we're doing in this is a little dash cam. Kenwood makes this guy right here. This is the DVR 410. Let's go ahead and unbox it and see what comes in the box, shall we? Now, this is a 1080 camera, full HD. Inside the box, obviously you get some form of instruction manual, warranty card with the micro SD and a micro SD card reader. You get a harness for hard wiring. Looks like this one is going to need constant 12 volts, accessory, and ground. You also get a cigarette lighter adapter. The camera itself, you can see it's fairly small. And then you get a window mount. There's this guy right here. It's got some sticky tape on it. So this just slides onto here like that. And then it looks like this guy just plugs in here like this. Plug it in before we put this on. All right, so there we go. That's how it's gonna look when it's mounted onto the windshield. It's got the cool little screen on the back. SD card goes over here in the side. All right, let's get in the car and figure out where we're gonna put it. So this has this giant thing surrounding the windshield. Ideally, it'd be nice to put it like right here, but let's figure out what all this is, see if we can get this off so that we can run our wires up through this. Otherwise, I don't want to run the wires around it. That would look terrible. So we do have a bunch of stuff, but it looks like we'll be able to notch that and put this right here. It looks like a good spot. So let me move this mirror up here. So I'm thinking about right there. That'll keep it out of the way because this mirror hangs down kind of low. And then we can run our wires up through this panel, put a notch in this guy right here, and then we can zip tie our wires up with the rest of these. So for this, we know the cigarette lighter is accessory. We know we have a ground there also. I mean, obviously finding ground is easy. The one thing we do need to find is a constant 12 volts for this. What I really want to do is get this window cleaned off, and we'll get this stuck up in here. I want to do some measuring to make sure I get it right in the center first. Yeah, that works. What we want to do now is check the fuse box. I always like to go into the fuse box and see if there's any open holes, you know, where there aren't any fuses, and test those to see if there's what we need there. In this case, we need an accessory, we need a constant 12 volt. Fernando's over at the fuse box. We're gonna do some testing. I'm here in the driver's seat so I can turn the ignition on and off for him. What we mean is like holes like these or holes like these that don't have fuses in them. Some of these are going to still have what we need, even though it's not doing anything for the car. Sometimes there's a constant 12 volt or an accessory there. So we want to test these first before we piggyback onto another circuit. So testing here, we can see we do have a constant 12 volt. There's actually multiple constant 12 volts in this fuse panel, so we're good there. The trickier one is going to be the accessory. So now we want to go in and probe, and as you can see, like there, see how it's not showing us any voltage. So those are the ones we want to start with. We'll go there, turn on ignition, and there we go. We know now we have ignition. All right, let's turn it off. Turns on and off with the key. And actually, I think it's more accessory, and there is a difference. Ignition will stay on through start. Accessory will shut off through start. So let's see what this one does. We'll start the car. All right, so this is actually accessory because it's shutting off when we start the car, which is good. We don't need this thing on while we start the car. We have our 2 points that we can tap our wires into. Now on this particular guy, the constant 12 volts has a fuse. The accessory doesn't. Now in the fuse box, there's always a master fuse. So somewhere underneath the hood, there's a fuse that goes into this fuse box that's fusing the whole fuse box. Think of like a power panel at your house. You have the master breaker and a bunch of little breakers. All fuse boxes in cars have a master fuse that controls that circuit that isn't a little guy like this. So we can either rely on that fuse to protect this little skinny wire, or we'll go ahead and add a second fuse to that wire, which is what we're gonna do, so that we can protect the whole wire going up through the system. It might be overkill, I understand. Fuse is cheaper than a car, and that fuse, that big fuse thing underneath the hood, those are expensive. Right now, let's get this wire run over to him so that he can continue on with that. So we went ahead and added tubing for the first 12 inches of it. This is gonna be the part that's gonna go through that housing. The reason for that is he wants it to have a little bit of slack. So this will allow it to go in and out of the hole we're gonna drill fairly easy, not get snagged. And then the rest of the car's wires are all covered in like a Tessa tape. So we went ahead and did the same so that it will match when we put it into the car. And also, of course, it adds a layer of protection. All right, so what we're gonna be using to tap into the fuse box today are these guys right here. So what this allows you to do is pull out your factory fuse and then put it into the bottom one here. And that'll allow that circuit to stay fully protected and still work the same way it does. But then it runs the leg up to here and allows you to have another fuse right here going off to whatever it is you want. So this will expand your existing fuse box and give you another input. In this case, we're using it a bit differently. We don't have a fuse, so we don't need this. We're just using it as a fuse. We need a fuse for the wire, so we're using these as the fuse holder. They plug in really nice, so it gives it a little bit nicer feel. Let's head over to the fuse box and I'll show you what we're talking about. So here we go, here's the fuse box. We have 2 of them in there. This is the constant 12 volts. This is the accessory. Pull this out, you can get a close-up look. So here you can see this is where we metered. This side here, on this side, was where we were metering and getting the power. On this side is nothing. So when you're putting this in, you wanna make sure that the wire is the output, this is the input, comes through here, passes across the fuse and goes out to the device. You want to make sure you plug it in the right direction. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any fuse. Now, the 12 volt on this side was where we were metering and getting the power, so that's why it is upside down from this one. Just kind of worked out that way. Now, what we did is we replaced the fuse. We cut the little crappy fuse holder out. No reason to have 2 fuses on it. We are using this as a fuse. This is done. Now we have to go into setup for this device. Okay, this is weird. This is the SD card that comes with it. Inside here is the little micro SD card. This is a micro SD card reader, but it has this piece of tape right here. Here it says, warranty void if seal is broken. How do you get the card out without cutting it open? That doesn't even make any sense. Why would they? That's silly. You have to open it to get the card out. So it has no warranty if you open it and use it? I've seen some silly stuff, but yeah. All right, so we have to press menu. Where do we have to go to?
Driving support.
Yeah, before the setting. Driving
support.
Alright, and we want to go to mounting height. Select OK. Alright, so meters, 54 inches. Meters, 1.3. Okay.
Now detention range. Okay.
Okay, so that's it. Set up.
Recording, yeah, it's recording.
Alright, so basically what they just wanted us to do is, one, tell it how high it is off the ground to the camera, where the horizon line is, and also where the hood line is according to where it's set up. Alright, well, our job is done with this. We're gonna go ahead and get it to the customer. As we like to say at the end of every job, on to the next one. So the next car is this. This is a Kia Optima. So what we're doing in this is we're adding in their amplifier to their existing radio. Somebody else has already put in the radio and done all that fun stuff. All we're doing is adding in their crunch amplifier, which I'll show you in a minute. But what I wanted to start out showing you with is, we preach on this here. Always when you're putting in the radio, make sure it's straight in the dash. Make sure it's square. Make sure you're gapping. You know, every radio we put in, we talk about this because it's important. It's the only thing you're gonna see in the car. You're not gonna see behind it. It's important to have it straight. Some shops don't feel that way. And as you can see here, like it's buried behind here in the corner. It's crooked in the dash. It's pushed in over here. It's sticking out over there. It just looks terrible. And yet somehow this car left the shop that worked on it, and that was okay. I mean, I've never been that lucky. I mean, I would never let anything go like that, but I mean, I've had installers that have worked for me in the past, and it's like, we're talking, you know, 32nd of an inch crooked in a Tahoe, and the guys were back going, hey, that's not straight. And you're like, let me get my micrometer out. I mean, and then check this out. So there's your GPS antenna and your Sirius XM antenna. I don't even know if those even work. And then we found this down here. This is the USB. It's just kind of like stuck. Why? Really? Over here by the footwell? Snazzy blue shoes. Okay. So anyways, on our agenda today is not to fix any of this, sadly. They're cool with it. It works. They're good. And that's why the place that put it in got away with it, because they're fine with it. We are going to straighten the radio out in the dash kit, hopefully. I mean, I don't know yet. I got to wait to see what we're working with back there. But what we're putting in today is this guy right here. The surfboard. We have a Crunch PRZA 1500.1. Big dog here. So what we're hooking it up to is these guys right here. They have some Cerwin Vegas that are going to go on it. So that's really the plan right now. Fernando, as you can see right there, say hi.
Hi.
Is already getting the area out so that we can run the wires through. We actually have the wires all set up on the bench and ready to go. They're all right here. Got the ferrules on, got our subwire red marked, RCA and all that. We still need to make the fuse holder here. Right now the main objective is to get the radio out of the dash and just see how bad it is back there, and of course figure out if we can mount it properly. So let's go ahead and do that. So there's our ground right there. It's just twisted around this. That's pretty cool. Well, there we go. That's what we're dealing with. Got crimp caps though, you know, good wire-on-wire connection. Having work ethic sucks. There's no way I can let this leave like this. I mean, sure, we could, but he clearly wants us to be his car company going forward. We did some work for his brother. You know, his brother told him to bring it here. He doesn't know what this looks like. I mean, I'm sure he assumes that it can't be wonderful, but this is just so bad. All right, well, let's try to salvage as much of it as we can. You know, the theory is if we let it go like this, then that's fine. It'll go away, and if he has any problems, I mean, you know, there's a lot, like you read in these forums that people, not this forum, but a lot of forums that, you know, shop owners say this and installers say that, and you know, at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is that if you leave and you come back because you have a problem, regardless of whether I put the radio in or not, I was the last guy to touch it. That's on me. I was dumb enough to do the install, so I'm dumb enough to acquire the problem. I don't like that. I hate that theory. I hate that whole thing. It's just sucks. And so does this wiring. But hey, whatever. Let's fix it. All right, so here is what we're dealing with. So we just did a basic cleanup to the harness. We went ahead and left the crimp caps because they're wire on wire, none of them are loose, so that's perfectly cool. We just zip tied it all up so it's not a mess. We went ahead and removed any wiring, cut it short, capped it off, reattached the power harness because that was kind of wonky. So we went ahead and just redid that portion of it. Got all these zip tied up in bundles so they're where they need to be. So this looks a lot nicer in the dash. The only thing we have to do now is fix this nightmare here. Also the parking brake, he's got the parking brake wire here. We're just gonna attach it to one of these screws here, put a ring terminal on it and ground it out. That's all you really need to do for that. So we have the brackets mounted on. Clearly it might need to move in and out some, so now we're just gonna take it into the car, see if we can get this lined up. Also, there was a metal piece in the back here that from the factory we need to remove because it was pushing up on this. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that out as well. The radio now is straight, looks a lot better, so we're gonna call that a success. Go ahead and get this back out. All right, so the battery's all set and done. Let's go ahead and take a look at the radio. So the radio looks much better in the dash. Now it's not crooked or pushed in. There's the amplifier. The surfboard is in place. Let's go ahead and turn it on and see how it bumps. All right, this guy is on its way out of here. It's all good, all done. On to the next one.